Revised charitable condiments. The Paul Newman legacy. Many Hollywood stars find themselves caught in the glare of the spotlight, consumed by their own egos, and driven to amass fame and fortune. But there was one who lived differently, Paul Newman. Beyond his iconic performances in films like Cool Hand Luke or The Hustler, Newman left an everlasting legacy through his charitable actions. With his company Newman's Own, he created a completely novel model. He sold delicious dressings and used every penny of profit to help those in need. His vision was so successful that he has already donated over $500 million. This is the story of Paul Newman and his charitable condiments. Chapter 1. The Birth of a Star. It's 1925 in Cleveland, Ohio. A tiny bundle is placed in his mother's arms with the brightest blue eyes you ever did see. This little guy is Paul Newman, and from day one it's clear he's got pipes of gold. Flash forward a few years and you see him lighting up the stage of the Cleveland Playhouse, mesmerizing the whole audience with his performance in St. George and the Dragon. The kid had talent, that was for sure. In 1947, Paul Newman enrolled at Kenyon College in Ohio, where he pursued a double major in drama and finance. But he had to take a pause. It was the final days of World War II, so he joined the United States Navy in 1946. For nearly 2 years, he served in naval aviation operations in the Pacific and Indian Oceans. Although the war ended before he saw direct combat, Paul still showcased courage and discipline during his naval service. With the war behind him, Paul dives back into acting with everything he's got. In 1949, he got his diploma from Kenyon, but schooling was just the beginning.
Did they take like a flight?
What?
Yeah. Look over here. Look at you all. Now over here. Look right at me.
The summer of 1951 found him at the Belfry Players. Paul just couldn't get enough. The following year, he packed his bags for drama mecca, the hallowed halls of Yale School of Theater. He immersed himself completely, and later on, he undertook an even more demanding and enriching course at the Actors Studio in New York, under the guidance of the master Lee Strasberg. It was then that Paul had the fortune of rubbing shoulders with future film stars such as James Dean, Steve McQueen, and Geraldine Page. They shared the dream of succeeding on the stage. And sure enough, in 1953, lightning struck in the form of the role of a lifetime, the lead man in Smash Hit Picnic on Broadway. Night after sizzling night, Paul owned that stage as roaring crowds clamored for more. After 14 months, the whole city knew the name Paul Newman. His life as a true actor had just begun.
Love me, hate me, kill me, anything. Just let me know it.
Chapter 2. The Movie Career. After taking Broadway by storm, Paul set his sights on Hollywood. His silver screen debut in 1954's Silver Chalice was a modest start.
All right, start your action. Go ahead. Lock it up. Here we go.
But just 2 years later, he electrified audiences in Somebody Up There Likes Me as boxer Rocky Graziano. Paul poured his soul into capturing Rocky's ferocity, putting his body through grueling training. Critics and fans alike were thunderstruck by his raw talent on full display. More acclaimed roles followed, like the legendary outlaw Billy the Kid in The Left-Handed Gun.
You had to try. You had to show what a fast son of a buck you are. Well, how come it didn't fire, Grant?
But it was 1958's Cat on a Hot Tin Roof that changed Paul's life forever. For it was there that his gaze first met the mesmerizing Elizabeth Taylor.
Maggie. But I failed. And I fell. Little girl, would you...
Her beauty was magnetic, no doubt, but it was another co-star whose smoldering charm captured Paul's heart permanently, Joan Woodward. Sparks flew between Paul and Joan on the steamy New Orleans set of the long, hot summer. Beyond their intense on-screen chemistry, a pure, devoted love blossomed between them. And so, after the cameras stopped rolling, Paul knew he'd found his soulmate. They would that year and built a fairy tale romance that stood the test of time for over 50 glorious years. Wherever his career led, Joan was by Paul's side, the dreamed of his reality, for all the world to see. Paul was living the dream, rubbing elbows with cinema legends left and right, with the love of his life by his side. He got to spar with the master of suspense himself, Alfred Hitchcock, in the edge-of-your-seat thriller Torn Curtain. But one of his all-time favorite gigs was alongside pal Robert Redford for Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, directed by the great George Roy Hill. Always one for a challenge, Paul spread his wings even further in the 70s. Not content to just act, he dipped his toe in producing and directing too. Because who likes easy? This led to delicate gems like Rachel, and sometimes a great notion, letting Paul dive deeper into character. As the years rolled on, Paul slipped into roles more fitting his seasoned experience. Flicks like Absence of Malice and Fort Apache. The Bronx found him fully embracing his acting chops under pal Sidney Pollack's guidance. His most celebrated turn was dancing with the devil himself, Martin Scorsese, in The Color of Money. Watching Paul school young buck Tom Cruise in the ways of pool hustling is pure gold. And his mesmerizing performance rightly netted Paul's cherry on top, an Academy Award. In 2002, Paul said goodbye to the silver screen after the acclaimed Road to Perdition, alongside Tom Hanks. But he just couldn't stay away, lending his voice to beloved cartoon Doc Hudson in 2006 Cars.
This ain't asphalt, son. This is dirt. Oh, great.
Chapter 2. His Other Passions. Perhaps this comeback was influenced by one of his other passions, cars. While filming Winning in 1969, Paul caught the racing fever. He signed up for schooling at the legendary Watkins Glen track to get up to speed. According to his instructor Bob Bondurant, Paul fell in love with the adrenaline rush of motorsports. From there, Paul was hooked. You'd find him tearing up SCCA circuits on weekends in the 70s, collecting 4 national titles before you could say a word. A career highlight was competing in the grueling 1979 24 Hours of Le Mans in a sweet Porsche 935. The kid even managed second place, not bad for a Hollywood star. Well into his golden years, the man just couldn't quit. At 70 years young, he made history winning his class at the 24 Hours of Daytona in 1995. And all through his movie stardom, Paul was building a name for himself on the track too. He partnered with Bill Freeman to form Newman Freeman Racing in '76, dominating Can-Am for a decade. Then alongside Carl Haas, they started Newman Haas Racing in '83 and bagged 8 champ car titles. But wisely, Paul knew when to call it quits before old age caught up. As he says, he didn't want to be that embarrassing 80-year-old dude behind the wheel. While the racing rush faded, another passion was cooking up in the Newman's kitchen. Chapter 3. Newman's Own. They say great business stories often kick off in garages, but this one had its roots in a barn. While 1982 marks when Paul and his friend, the novelist A.E. officialized Newman's Own on paper, the story truly began in Paul's farm kitchen years prior. As the winter winds howled outside, Paul found solace in his cozy kitchen. Night after night, he experimented with ingredients, stirring pots, and testing flavors. One Christmas Eve, he whipped up so much salad dressing there was no choice but to bottle the leftovers. Paul gifted jars to friends, who raved the sauce was simple but simply divine. Word spread until A.E. Hotchner had an idea. Why not share this scrumptious sauce with the world? At first, Paul thought him mad. But in the coming months, whenever a spare moment arose, he returned to the stove, refining recipes endlessly. Nearly 2 full years passed in just this way, and by then even Paul had to admit A.E. may have been onto something good. Only one catch, Paul said. Any profit must help people in need. The promoter insisted Paul's handsome face alone could sell 1 million jars. So, with nary a marketing plan in sight, the actor's striking face flew onto bottles filled with sauces of all kinds. And that is how Newman's Own was born. Flavors like roasted garlic flew off the shelves, bringing people together. But more than money, Paul found reward in touching hearts through shared community and caring for others. In just their first year, their simple sauces brought joy and $300,000 for good causes, as Paul always intended. Thanks to the actor's undeniable charisma and global recognition, the brand achieved success that not even its creators had anticipated. From the beginning, Paul conceived Newman's Own not as a business but as his greatest passion, even surpassing his own artistic career. Soon, salad dressing was joined by pasta sauce, followed by microwave popcorn, lemonade, and even more sauces, all products envisioned by Paul himself. He insisted on using his own creations, maintaining a quality that far surpassed that of other competitors. And people responded in droves, putting Newman's Own on store shelves from coast to coast. A decade in, Their donations topped an amazing $50 million. To solidify helping communities for generations, in 2005, Paul founded the Newman's Own Foundation. Chapter 4. Newman's Own Foundation. From the very beginning, Paul envisioned using Newman's Own to lend more than a helping hand. He aimed to change lives. The foundation carries forward that guiding light with its noble mission, ensuring every dollar earned is invested in our children, families, and communities. To this day, the philanthropy sown by Paul so many years ago continues blooming through careful stewardship. When he spoke of giving it all away,
decided we'd give the money away.
Paul referred to sharing the abundance that remains after taking prudent care of business, covering fair costs for employees and production to keep the vision alive. It was never about short-term gains, but sustainable support. So, after covering the necessary to keep the operation running, the surplus is distributed to various charitable organizations, including the camps. This approach has always allowed them to maintain a strong financial sustainability. Beyond profits from Newman's Own foods, flown off shelves worldwide, the foundation also receives income from royalties, resulting from agreements with third parties to further expand the reach of the brand's products. And all funds go towards empowering communities through caring grants, both close to home and afield. While American dreams inspire much of their work, compassion knows no boundaries. The support also flows to international groups aiding souls wherever found in need. This is largely due to the global popularity achieved by Newman's Own products, which are sold in nations like the UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. For 4 decades, they've nurtured small seeds of care into forests of lasting change, reinvesting gifts wisely while guarding each dollar with purpose. Over $570 million now breathe life into projects uplifting minds, bodies, and spirits universally. Chapter 5. Serious Fun Children's Network. Some of the kindest seeds have nourished kids facing life's toughest battles. Back in '88, seeing young faces in one of simple joy, Paul birthed the first foal in the Wall Gang camp in Ashford. He aimed to provide children facing serious illnesses the chance to enjoy unforgettable recreational experiences, all at no cost. A place with no room for worry, just endless games and friendships, all freely given to lift spirits high. The positive impact of this initiative was so profound that similar camps began popping up in various parts of the world. Fueled by Paul's inspiration, generosity, and a shared vision, these camps eventually joined forces to create the Serious Fun Network on a global scale. Several decades on, the ongoing efforts of the 30 camps within the Serious Fun Children's Network are sustained through crucial donations, such as those from the Newman's Own Foundation. What's more, the Serious Fun Network holds a uniquely valuable position as the sole organization of its kind, capable of accommodating children facing a diverse range of diseases, over 100 in various forms. Through these caring havens, constant hospital halls and labs can loosen their hold for a time. Young hearts rediscover the child's right to simply be a child, and fun flows free as the kindliest balm. More than 1.5 million unforgettable memories now stand as the legacy of a network that spans the globe, present in 50 nations. Chapter 6. Newman's Final Days. The final months of Paul Newman's life were marked by his unwavering philanthropic spirit, even in his most challenging moments. Since early 2008, he battled against lung cancer, undergoing chemotherapy that, unfortunately, proved ineffective. So Paul decided his final days would be spent surrounded by family, especially Joan, his anchor through it all. And on a late September day in 2008, Paul passed on peaceful like on that farm near Westport, Connecticut, Joan's hand in his to the end. In some interviews, Newman mentioned that his wish was to be buried at the hole in the Wall Gang camp or to have his ashes scattered in the lake. The reason? "I've always admired fish," he simply stated. But wherever he rests, a light shone through Paul to light more fires of hope than could ever be counted. He would later be recognized as one of the most generous philanthropists in U.S. history, having donated a significant portion of his wealth to charity. And that wraps up the incredible life story and legacy of Paul Newman, an actor deeply committed to making a difference. He turned his success into millions of smiles through Newman's Own, one salad dressing at a time. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to discover more inspiring stories. Thanks for watching.